Welcome to Whether or Not. I'm Chief Meteorologist Lee Goldberg. In this episode, it's all about those words that are creeping into the 7-day, like frost and freeze and ice and snow. We're talking about what we can expect this winter. Joining me now is AccuWeather Senior Meteorologist Paul Pastelok, lead long-range forecaster. We always count on Paul. It's such a great record and great to see you again. I can't believe we're here again talking about the winter outlook.
Yeah, thanks for the welcome there, Lee. Great. Yeah, I know. It's surprising how the seasons just continue to move along so fast. 1 minute we're talking about tropical season in the forecast, and here we are. It's wintertime, and it's already been chilly in parts of the Northeast already, Lee.
It was pretty amazing, Paul. I mean, I thought, all of a sudden the equinox hits, and you look at the September calendar, and it just turned. I mean, we started to get chilly. We didn't get any more 80s. And then since things have kind of leveled off, and it's actually been kind of a nice, steady decline, we've had an actual fall.
Yeah, we had a lot of rain that came in September there for a little while, and after the dry summer that we had, and then we kind of transitioned out of that, got a little drier, got a little bit warmer, which was nice. People were able to do things outdoors, head into some of those festivals that are going on right now. But the change is coming, and we've seen some colder air building up across northern Canada, and Alaska has been hit pretty hard. And now we're going to start to feel some of that coming in our direction down the road here.
All right, so talk to me about, we're talking about some of the ingredients that go into this winter forecast, and it's very complicated. But one of the backbones of this one, you called it a triple dip La Nina, I believe. It's yet another winter that will have factors that are obviously affected by La Nina. So how does that play out?
Yeah, let's talk about La Nina. First of all, it's the cooling of the equatorial Pacific Ocean. It's been cool for the last 3 winters now. And what it's done is changed the upper level patterns, made a stronger northern type jet stream pattern that's set up. We're going into a third one. You can see the waters all cool in the equatorial Pacific. Look at the northern jet stream pattern that's shaping up, all coming down from Canada and zipping on east. Now, typically, that doesn't bring a lot of snow to places like the Mid-Atlantic and New England, and it brings occasional cold. The worst of the weather usually is in Western Canada and the Northwest. But this one is going to be a little different because of the fact that we'll be weakening as we get into the middle and latter part of the winter season. As it weakens, its signal is less strong. And so other signals that are out there may start to take more play in our winter forecast. So we're going to have to watch carefully again, late January, late February, and then at the start of the spring season, maybe a few surprises.
Now here we go with that strong finish again. And then one of the other factors that we're talking about is actually something that happened at the beginning of the year, a volcanic eruption on the other side of the world.
Yeah, usually when we talk about volcano eruptions, big ones that do get up into the stratosphere, lifting all that dust and aerosol up there, we're talking about years afterwards that ends up, being cooler than normal, your summers and your winters as well. But this one a little differently because of the fact that it sent up a tremendous amount of water vapor because it was underneath the water and went way up into the stratosphere. We're seeing levels way above normal. The key, though, is that most of that water vapor is actually on both sides of the equator. Now, if it starts to get over the polar region more so, then we may have some weird stuff happening that even scientists don't know and can't explain at this point. So that is probably a wild card for later on in the season.
Interesting. Okay, so we're following a script a little bit of previous years where you're thinking maybe we get off to a soft start. Even though we've had this early season chill, doesn't mean that, winter chill is going to blow in December really strong.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, you said it, Lee. Last Decembers have been pretty mild. We're starting off slow, not a lot of snow cover on the ground. This fall may be a little bit on the chilly side to end, but this December looks a bit milder at times. Then we got to watch again what happens when the La Nina weakens and the Northern Pacific signals come into play. Does that change things around for the latter part, the bookend part of the season? I think we got some changes coming. We just don't know exactly what they're going to be yet.
Any analogs that kind of paint that helped you make this map? Any previous winters that you're really relying on?
That's been the craziness of this, Lee. This is the longest it's taken me to do this forecast.
Interesting.
There's 2 years that kind of stick out. You look back at the winter seasons of 2013-14, a very cold, wintry season. New York, we had over 57 inches of snow here in the city. And then you look at 2011 and 12, we had under 10 inches. So big, huge spread in the analog years right now. So we're kind of feeling it out. Half are going colder, half are going milder. model forecasts are leaning milder, so we're kind of in that play right now.
Okay, so our viewers are looking at this map. They're obviously seeing a big snowy signal, northwest, upper Midwest, and then you see this less snow, more mixes here, obviously struggling with the cold. It's kind of what you said early in the season. Maybe we're struggling to make some snow, but maybe late in the season, when you finally get those cold temperatures entrenched, we have maybe a late bloomer here. But you're thinking the snowfall could be below normal, maybe similar to last year.
Yeah, similar to last year, maybe a little bit more. We're going to be watching because the water temperatures off New England, very warm. So these systems can blow up at the last minute. A lot of times we tend to see those big systems blow up in February and March. So that's going to be critical as we get from late January to early March, that we could get most of the snowfall that you see we have forecasted for the New York City and other cities on the East Coast. Higher amounts as you get into central northern New England, lower amounts as you head towards the mid-Atlantic states, of course.
Yeah, interesting to see that's very specific how you can get to 6 to 9 days of accumulating snow. I think we can deal with that in New York City.
Yeah, that's something we're trying out new. A lot of people have been asking me, frequency of snow. How often? You're predicting amounts, but is it going to be a snowy winter or is it going to be less than snowy winter? And that's those are below normal amounts right now, the days.
Any of the late blooming hurricane season give you influence in your winter forecast?
Well, the things that we look at for that is, do we get a lot of storms that kind of lower the sea surface temperature anomalies? Mm-hmm. It could change the tracks of storms as we get into the early to mid part of the winter season. We didn't have a lot of action because of certain things that happened during the middle of the peak season, but we do feel that there is going to be less attention as far as development in over the southeast or the Gulf of Mexico. Late development is probably the big thing this year with nor'easters. So less development in the south, but more action maybe as it gets up toward New England.
All right, one last nod to our skiers here, a little concerned about the below normal snowfall forecast. But you look and we may, at least nearby, whether it's a Hunter Mountain or up toward the Green and White Mountains, the Adirondacks, we might be talking about some decent skiing as we go farther north.
Yeah, watch those wraparound systems off the East Coast. We may get some of that cold to get back in from eastern Canada just in time to get the snow to fall in the Northeast. The West, not too bad as well. But again, I go back to this, Lee, a lot of it is going to depend on sea surface temperature anomalies in the second half of the winter season on the Atlantic and also in the Northern Pacific, to whether or not we have a very amplified pattern to get the development that we would like to see here in the New England states. So it's going to be a close call, but I do feel that we have a chance here.
All right, and one last question that just came to mind, Paul. Obviously, we keep talking about this lower strat in December. Doesn't mean a white Christmas is off the table.
No, it's too far out right now to determine that. But, even if it's mild, even if you're seeing those readings, we've had Decembers where it's +2, +3 departures, and you still get 1 or 2 systems, and it could fall right around that winter time. But again, it's a little too tough to pinpoint exactly what's going to happen at Christmas.
Of course. All right. Always great information. Paul Pastelok of AccuWeather. I really appreciate you joining us again, and we'll talk to you throughout the season.
Thanks, Lee.
All right, Paul, be well. And that'll do it for this edition of Whether or Not, your winter outlook. Maybe we get off to a slow start, but could have a strong finish with a fair amount of snow. We'll be with you every step of the way in the 7-day AccuWeather forecast and, of course, the long range. Thanks for watching Whether or Not.